Have you ever felt lost looking at a maths problem and wondered, where do I even start? In this video, I'll explain the RISN acronym. This is a foolproof system that gives you direction whilst you attempt challenging problems. Once mastered, you'll have more confidence, which then leads to you getting more marks in your exam. The following process works for all high school year groups from year 7 all the way up to year 12. The R, which is read the question carefully. The I, which is identify the topics and lessons that could be used to help solve the problem. The S, summarize key information and set up the question. The E, which is evaluate the solution, or in other words, solve the problem and find the answer. Finally, the N, which is now check your answer. Now let's dive further and detail how we'll do each step. The first step, read the entire question to get a general understanding of the problem. During this step, sometimes you may need to read the question twice and highlight any important information. Also check if there are any words, symbols, or units you do not understand. The second step, which is identify the topics and lessons that could be used to help solve the problem. When you do this, this helps you recall any formulas or procedures that you may need. This step is also very important when your exam has multiple topics being assessed, like most senior exams. If you're unable to identify the topic or exactly which lesson, move on to the next step, as they may reveal themselves later on. The third step, summarize key information and set up the question. The summary and setup will differ depending on your type of question. For example, drawing diagrams and illustrations, summarize variables, make a list, write a worded equation, make a table or chart. The fourth step, which is evaluate, or in other words, solve the problem and answer the question. You will complete the following depending on your question. Perform necessary calculations, apply a formula, work backwards to the solution, use the guess and check method, eliminate options that don't make sense. The fifth step, which is now check your answer. If possible, it is always a good idea to see if your answer you're giving is reasonable and fits. This is a great thing to do because if your answer is not what it should be, you can go back and try and find your mistake and change it before you finish the question. You also need to check, did you round your answer correctly? Did you include all necessary units? And do you need to write your answer as a sentence? Let's see this in action. I've picked an example from the Year 7 concept so everyone can follow the steps and see how each step is applied. Firstly, the R. Read the question carefully. A tadpole is measured to be 9 millimeters long. A few weeks later, the tadpole turns into a frog that is 8 times longer than its tadpole's length. What is the difference between the length of the frog and its length as a tadpole? Looking at a couple of words, we know that times relates to multiplication and difference relates to subtraction. I, which is identify the topics and lesson. This is from the number topic, lessons multiplication and subtraction. You don't need to always write this down. This step is used to get you thinking of potential formulas and procedures that could be used. S, which is summarize key information and set up the question. We can use a number line to represent both scenarios. Firstly, listing that the tadpole is 9 millimeters, then the frog is 8 times longer than the tadpole. Finally, the difference is the frog's length minus the tadpole. Next, the E, which is evaluate, and we complete the necessary calculations. First, figuring out the length of the frog. 8 times 9 equals 72. Now the difference. 72 minus 9 equals 63 millimeters. Next to the n, let's check our answer. We add 9 millimeters plus our answer, and this gives us the frog's answer. So we are correct.